Hey guys, it's Elena, and today I have my January reading wrap up for you. So let's see, I got through 7 books and 1 DNF this month. I have 4 5-star books that I would totally recommend. So let's hop in and talk a little bit about what I've gotten through this month. So I have a ton of audiobooks on here and 2 physical books. So let's start off with the physical books. I do have this book here, Ruin and Roses by Deanna Ortega. This guy here I have a full review on. If you want to check it out, I will leave it down below. This was a book I found on TikTok, on BookTok, introduced by the author herself, and this book is definitely not a finished work. It's self-published, and she could have used a really great editor. It was definitely lacking in a lot of different places. It's a romantasy, it's definitely spicy, and yeah, if you want to know more about it, I'll leave a link down below to my full review, but this guy got my lowest star rating, 2 out of 5 stars, and I would not recommend this to anybody. So the next physical book that I read was Wayward by Emilia Hart, and this was a 5-star read for me. I got mine from the local library, so I don't have a copy to show you guys, but I think I finished it like last week. Anyway, this was a 5-star read. I loved this book. I will say right off the bat that if you don't want to read anything about like abuse or like sexual abuse in particular, like stay away from this book. There definitely needs to be like a warning at the beginning of this book that it includes stuff like that. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of a sad story overall, but it's kind of heartwarming in the end. So there are these 3 women who are part of the same family who are from different time periods. So like there's a story of a lady in the 1600s, there's a story of a lady at the early 20th century, and there's a story of a lady who is more like modern day. But they're all like related, and they all end up like residing at the same like cottage kind of place. But anyway, the story just tells you like it's about the different men in their lives who are kind of terrible, you know, like there's only a couple of male characters in here who are actually decent people, it seems, and overall it kind of makes you sad about like all of the women throughout history, all of our mothers and grandmothers and ancestors who have gone through terrible relationships and terrible things with men and have just been treated horribly, and how that's like how our ancestry is, you know, like as women, like all of our female ancestors have gone through some terrible things, and it's kind of sad, it's kind of sucky to think about. So the lady in the 1600s is she's on trial for witchcraft, and you can just see the misogyny and everything that goes along with that. And I know that might not sound like appealing, but it's kind of like you know, kind of like a dark kind of book, you know. I don't know, I really enjoyed it. So it did have 3 different people's perspectives, but it didn't get confusing. Like you knew exactly what was going on. It wasn't, and the chapters were really quick, and they always like, there was always something going on and trying to keep your attention, and like you always were ready to like, not like you were bored with one character or another, but like you were ready to get back to another character on the next chapter. Like you were sad to leave this character, but you were still excited to see what's going on with another character. So I feel like it really kept your interest. It was a really quick read, and overall I just really enjoyed it, and I would totally recommend, as long as you know the kind of trigger warnings going into it. Next is The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. This was a book that was very YA. The thing about young adult books is that you never know when you're gonna get something that's like good for everybody, or it's like really like middle school level, and this book felt closer to like a middle school level. It just, as an adult reading it, I just kind of felt like it was a little bit less than exciting, like less than I wanted it to be. The last few chapters were pretty decent, but it didn't carry throughout the whole story. So this guy I gave like barely a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I would have given it like a 2.8 or like a 2.9 or something. It was just not something that I wanted to be reading it. At like the 50% point, I really just wanted to kind of give up on it, but I stuck it out. The ending was a little bit better than the rest of it, but still nothing special. I wouldn't really recommend anybody. It's about this girl who has magic powers, and she just has to kind of learn how to control them and stuff like that. There's a little bit like a little romance kind of thing, but she's like 17. I just feel like it wasn't super awesome, so I don't have a lot to say about that one. Anyway, it just felt more like a YA, and like even if I knew some kids in middle school, would I really even recommend it to them? I don't know about that either, so I don't know. I guess I should mention the book that I did not finish this month is kind of along the same lines as that. So it's called Scion of the Fox. I don't even remember who was this one by. S.M. Biko. But anyway, that one was another one that just kind of felt kind of childish, felt kind of middle schoolish. There was magic and stuff. It just wasn't something, like, once I made it to 50%, I made it over 50%, and I still was just like, I don't know about this one, so I did give up on that one. And actually, you know, I didn't read the whole thing, but if I knew some middle schoolers, I might have recommended that one. Like, I don't know how it ends or anything, I didn't get all the way through it, but I feel like it at least kind of had more of a decent story going on, and some of the details were kind of like creepy and gruesome, and I feel like if you were like kind of you know, alternative middle schooler, you might have been into something like that. So that actually I might recommend to, if I knew someone, I might recommend it. Okay, next 5-star was Dreams Lie Beneath by Rebecca Ross. Rebecca Ross is becoming one of my favorite authors. I've really liked everything that I've read from her. I've only read a handful of things, but I've really liked all of it. So this book is about like a teenage girl and her dad. Her dad is like he records nightmares in the village that they live in, and then like once a month somebody's nightmare comes to life and they have to like defeat that nightmare. And so she's kind of like learning how to do what her dad does, and it's got like magic and stuff like that, and it there's a lot of little surprises and twists, and it's, even though it's like a fantasy book with magic and stuff, it's not like a big strange crazy world to relearn or anything. It just is really nice. I love Rebecca Ross. I feel like she writes beautifully, like everything feels like so elegant, and it just flows and sounds beautiful, and the story I thought was pretty interesting, and it had little surprises and stuff, and so I was like super into it. I don't really have a lot more to say about it, but I would totally recommend to anybody who likes a little bit of magic, a little bit of like a fantasy read, but nothing too crazy or complicated or anything like that. Just kind of a fun read. I really enjoyed it. Okay, the next book is something that I would not have normally read. I would call it kind of like a sci-fi kind of fantasy book. It's called A Psalm for the Wild Built, and it is written by Becky Chambers, and it's the story of a robot and a tea monk. Okay, so tea, like drinking tea. So the tea monk is somebody who is kind of like, you know, they're a monk. They're kind of like a therapist, kind of like a bartender kind of deal. Like they go around and they listen to people's problems and talk to people and serve them tea, and like it's just kind of like what they do. Kind of like a religious thing, but kind of like just a friendly thing. You know, that's just what they do. It's kind of, I don't know, it's really cozy and seems really nice. And then the robot is, so like years ago, so this is like in the future, but years ago the people set the robots free when they gained consciousness, and the robots go to live in the forests and the people stay and live in the cities, which I think is kind of interesting. This is another one of those books where I feel like you could totally write an English paper on it, like all the little juxtapositions and like little interesting little tidbits in it. I just really liked it. But it's cozy and interesting, and anyway, they meet up and they are going to like figure out like essentially what's the meaning of life, you know, like just kind of like talking about life in general and stuff like that. And you know, robot is coming from a completely different angle than the human is, you know. So anyway, it's kind of cute, kind of cozy. Definitely something I wouldn't have picked up or like even like thought to read, but I really did enjoy it in the end. And I would totally recommend it. If it sounds like something that sounds a little bit interesting to you, I would recommend it. It was pretty nice. And it does have a sequel, or like another book, and I haven't read that one yet, but it is on my list of stuff, so I will read that one day. It's like a hopeful book. It like feels positive. It's kind of a quick read. I feel like it was really quick for like an audiobook, you know, like you could get it done in a day totally. You know, if you don't have a lot of things to do, you know, if you have lots of time to like listen to an audiobook, like I feel like it was only like 4 hours or something really quick. I just think it's cool how the robot is like the one who's like from the wild in the wilderness, and the person is the one who's like from the cities. Like, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of cool. So the next 2 books are part of a trilogy. We have The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic. The Poppy War I loved, absolutely 5 stars, totally in love with that book. There is like violence and assault and blood and gore, like it's about war and stuff. It's definitely needs some trigger warnings for that one. I really loved it. So it's about this girl who she grows up in like rural made up world, but it's kind of like China. And she has to take it, she wants to take a test to see if she can be accepted to this big military academy and to like escape from the poverty and the life that she's stuck living in down south. So anyway, she is going to, it's like about her being at school for a while and like the kids and interacting with the other students and stuff like that. She has this really cool like professor who she gets to know and stuff. And then you get, so then like the next part is like there's war and stuff and action and craziness, but I loved the build up. I love that it wasn't just all war, but that there was part of her at school and like getting to know her and stuff. And I loved our little like professor buddy. I loved him. There's a lot of like, there's a little bit of magic, a little bit of, it's like very real, like reality with a tad, a little bit of magic and stuff, and just really kind of mystical. Like I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was super, super cool. And yes, there was violence, there was humor, and there's definitely a little bit of like magic, mystical kind of stuff. So anyway, I loved it. So I had to read the second one. The second one is The Dragon Republic, and that one I gave 4 stars. It's a lot of war, a lot of violence. There were so many different battles and so many different characters where I was kind of like, felt a little lost at times. Like it felt kind of repetitive because like we do this battle and then we do next battle and it all feels kind of the same. Like, I wasn't even thinking I was gonna read the third one until I got to the end of the second one. So at the end of Dragon Republic, crazy stuff happens finally, and I'm like, okay, I have to see what happens now, so I have to read the third one, which I'm working on, come February. But yeah, anyway, the second one not as good as the first one, but I really did love the original, the Poppy War original. Alright, so if you made it through this whole video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know that you made it. This is the first like reading wrap-up video that I've ever done. It's kind of hard to articulate how you feel about a book in a very concise little segment, So let me know what I can improve on down in the comments below. Let me know if you've liked any of these books, if any of them sound good, and you plan on maybe reading based on anything that I've said in today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope to continue to put out these little reading wrap-up update kind of deals. If you want to see any like full reviews on anything, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys next time.